Family's vacation, family vacation, going through the desert, winds up attracting some very unfortunate people. This is the movie we're going to be talking about on Horror 101. Stay tuned and find out what it is.
This is Harrison Smith, director and writer of Death House, Camp Dread, and Zombie Killers. I also produced and wrote The Fields with Cloris Leachman and Tara Reid, and 6 Degrees of Hell. I started the Horror 101 list because I got a very bizarre tweet one time. Somebody telling me that I should look at making a film version of the TV series Scream. So I made a Building Blocks 101 kind of list for horror. This doesn't mean it's everything that's out there, nor does it mean that I'm including all cult films or maybe something that's your personal favorite. What I'm saying is these are the DNA, the building blocks of the genre that goes all the way back to the 1920s. I hope you like the list, and my thanks to the Dorkening for promoting it.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Horror 101. I'm Kevin, and as always, I'm joined by...
the 13th Wolfman.
And today we're talking about The Hills Have Eyes from 1977. Wolfie, why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown?
All right, on their way to California, a family has a misfortune to have their car break down in an area close to the public and inhabited by violent savages ready to attack.
That sums it up pretty well. Here's the reason why Harrison included this on his list. Wes Craven hits again with a great social horror that touches a little science fiction along the way. Action-packed, it gave us a new set of horror icons as Dee Wallace and Michael Berryman. See? Oh, there's a question mark. Wes Craven did do things before Scream.
Yeah,
obviously.
So
yeah. So yeah, we've talked about this one before. We've both met Michael, and we've had Suze Lanier on the show.
Suze Lanier on, and we've had Dee Wallace's daughter on, which is having Dee Wallace on in the distance.
Yeah, exactly. By association. Yeah.
To me, I mean, honestly, it's like when it comes down to Wes Craven's movies, I can't stand Last House on the Left. I think it's probably one of the worst movies ever made. And to me, this was his next film. It's like 5 years later, and it's like, to me, this is where Wes Craven starts his true voyage into filmdom. I love this movie. I saw this movie in '77. I was 10 when it came out. I saw it at the drive-in. Michael Berryman, Suze Lanier, Dee Wallace, John Stedman. This movie it's one of my all-time favorite movies. The Hills Have Eyes.
Nice.
And so when we were going through the list, it's like I hadn't picked it for a while. It's like you picked this one, and I was like, hey, cool, I finally get to do.
Yeah.
Well,
I know it would be an easy watch. Like, I have things going on, so it's like it's not sometimes time's a little limited. So I know like this would be an easy watch, and the other one that we're doing would be an easy watch as well, because I'm familiar with them both, and this one more familiar than the other, but. So yeah, I'm like, I know this will be a good time. I'm not gonna be struggling to get through this one, because yeah, again, it's a really good time. It's got the '70s vibe, It's a very '70s movie. That's not a negative thing. I love '70s movies. And there's just it looks so low budget that I think it adds character to the movie. It adds to the creepiness of the movie.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, this movie, God, there's so much I love about this. I love that, to me, I have a category of movies I refer to as the what if movies.
Mm-hmm.
What if a family travels cross country and breaks down in the desert? What if 4 guys get in a canoe and, are getting a couple of canoes and go down, a river in Georgia? And this, to me, is the perfect what if movie. And I this is going to sound weird, but I just think it's so cool the way that Michael Berryman looks, even though it's all birth defects. You know, he's got something like 20 something or 50 some birth defects, and he can't grow fingernails, he can't grow teeth, can't grow hair, and here's a guy that you just kind of like find and you go, wow, well, you know what, we're making a movie, we need something kind of, you know, mysterious looking. We don't need to put makeup on you.
Yeah. And he's an icon. Like, you know, Michael Berryman when you see Michael Berryman, and he's great in this one. He's younger. I think he's in his early 20s in this movie. I think dwels was in early 20s as well.
Yeah. This was like his second movie.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's just a lot to like. There's only one thing that I always find kind of nitpicky in this one, and it's just because I'm like, I don't like the way that this looks. And you may not.
It's the same thing. I don't.
Like. Maybe not. It may not be. What's yours?
Mars's nose. The crack in Mars's nose.
I actually kind of like that.
It's always bugged me. It's a mortician's wax.
Yeah.
It just always just look. It's like.
And this has nothing to do with the design of the character or the way that the characters are played or anything. It's just the visual of when they're running through to, you know, they're just like marching through the desert kind of deal. It's like straight onto the camera, and for some reason it just makes me laugh because it's just like they're like bundled up and they're just like I'm like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like, it seems like if you're trying to sneak up on somebody, that's not the way you're gonna do it, you know. That's the only thing I'm just like, I wish that this was like a little more like stocky kind of deal, you know. Then the dog jumps up behind Michael Berryman and takes out his Achilles tendon, which is terrifying to me. That's the worst thing I can imagine. But
oh yeah, definitely. But going back to Berryman, so because he can't grow any of those things, he also doesn't have any sweat glands. And he basically could have died making this movie out in the middle of the desert. You know, it's an amazing thing. One of my favorite scenes is the way they set up the whole booby trap thing, or the alarm system with the fishing pole and the car, and it's like, this is MacGyver before MacGyver was ever around. It just seemed like, it's like, hey, I know, we got the car and we got the fishing pole, and
there's a lot of cool stuff. I liked when they propped up the mother who's no longer with them, with the cable, and you know, got the little cinch around the feet, and unfortunately it gave way, or the engine died before I could finish. But I don't know, it's a fun one, and it's one of those ones that I tend to watch a little too loud. And my wife's like, "Turn it down, Jesus Christ!" Because Suze Lanier screams like a banshee through a lot of it.
Suze Lanier looks good in this movie.
Yeah, she's adorable. She's absolutely adorable. Sorry, go ahead.
No, this movie was based on an old. You might know this, but it's based on an old Scottish family from like the 1400s, the Sawney Bean family, which basically inbred and they lived in caves and they inbred, and in order to stay alive, anyone that traveled near their cave, they just caught, catched, and ate. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. But so yeah, I mean, it's an obvious must watch. Have you seen the remake?
I've seen the remake. Okay, this is one of my all-time favorite movies, and the remake is actually one of the better remakes that came out in the 2000s.
I've avoided the remake.
No, they stick to the essential story. It's not like some remakes where they just kind of like go, they like, okay, it's a remake in title only. Mm-hmm. They stick with essentially the same storyline. They add a few things, and the few things that they add, I think, actually make it a little bit cooler.
All right, I'm gonna check it out then. I've avoided it.
No, it's the remake. Now the second movie, the sequel to the remake. Watch it if you want to. It's. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but it's
Well, if I watch the remake, I'm going to have to watch the sequel of the remake.
Yeah, I'm just saying the second one's kind of like an acquired taste.
Yeah. No. All right, well, good to know. I mean, I'll check it out. So I know you've already said you love this movie. So we've already talked about scenes that we love.
Yes.
Is there anything else you wanted to bring up before we give it a rating?
I, I just thought it was well cast. I mean, this is one of those movies where they basically cast like a bunch of nobodies, and it made careers for at least Michael Berryman and Dee Wallace, and Wes Craven,
Yeah.
of course. But I mean, like I said, Michael Berryman had done Doc Savage, the Bronze Man, like 2 or 3 years before this. But I think more people found out about that movie after they saw this movie. It's like, hey, let's see what else he's done, and type of thing.
Yeah. So obviously it's a must watch.
It's a must watch
If you haven't already seen it. If you're watching this, I'm sure you've already seen it. But so what would you give this as a rating?
I'm going to give this. You're smiling because you know what I'm going to say. I mean, it's just
I know what you want to say.
Well, you know what I'm going to say. I mean, I do. I love this movie. It's a 10. I mean, even with Mars's nose, that's always bugged me. That mortician wax nose is every time I see them.
I think it just adds to the charm, like, of the low budgetness feel of it. Low budgetness, that's a word, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a word today.
Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying, and but it's just something that going back to seeing it in the drive-in, and ever since then, it's the one thing that just always kind of like irked me.
Really?
It's like, yeah, I mean, I know that they didn't have the special effects that they didn't have the gurus that worked on Star Wars, to do the special effects, and it's just mortician wax, but it just looks bad.
But that being said, you still gave it a 10.
I still gave it a 10. Yeah.
And I'm probably going to give it a 9. It's great 70s horror. Even though it's late 70s, it's great 70s horror. It has that awesome 70s vibe to it, and it's a really good time. Like it's a fun one. It's not overly terrifying, but it's also not campily bad either.
Have you ever seen the sequel to this?
I haven't.
Oh wow, it's bad.
Well, now I'll avoid it. I don't know how I'm going to though, but now that
I mean, it is so bad that Bobby has a flashback to this. Suze's character has a flashback, and the dog has a flashback.
All right,
that's how bad it is.
Well, that being said, now we're talking about dog flashbacks. Wolfie, where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube, The 13th Wolfman, Twitter at The 13th Wolfman, Tumblr 13th Wolfman the Prowl, every Sunday and Tuesday on the Dorkening, and always doing Horror 1 with Kev.
And you can find me, A-Knuckle, on Twitter, Instagram, and A-Knuckle3 on Snapchat, as well as every Sunday, Tuesday on the Dorkening, and doing Horror 101s with Wolfie. And if you like audio podcasts and you like our regular Dorkening live show, or maybe you don't have the time to watch the whole live show, or maybe you missed some episodes or whatever, I don't know. Head over to iTunes or Android, wherever you find your podcast, and subscribe to a search for The Dorkening. And the audio from our Sundays and Tuesday shows are going up there, so you can subscribe and listen while you drive, listen while you work, listen while, I don't know, you do something else. I'm not gonna judge. I'm not gonna judge. But anyways, yeah, subscribe, and then also if you like what you see here, also be on the lookout for more, and subscribe down here. Leave a comment. Make sure it's positive. If it's negative, I don't want to hear from you.
Even though every other week we say, hey, we like hate mail.
Well, this week I don't. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and have a good one. Bye.
Bye.